I mean, the reason I thought we should talk about purpose was primarily because it comes up in coaching a lot. People talk about, oh, trying to find my purpose. What is my purpose? Everyone else seems to have a purpose apart from me, that type of thing. Also, when you're going through coaching training, you get trained on purpose as well. And it seems like this really important big thing, which is great if you are somebody that naturally has a real strong urge towards something. But if you don't, it can be, quite a difficult topic to get your head around. So I think that's for me why it's good to talk about it, because I do think everyone's different. So it's almost like normalizing what that life purpose thing is all about, and just learning a bit about it from you as well to get
Yeah.
your take on it.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because it is one of the things that you learn in when you get trained as a coach, and even in the leadership program that you and I did together. There was also a big portion around, or a portion around, finding a purpose and living into that purpose, and having that as almost a way to root yourself in everything you do. And I have to be honest, when it came to the training we did, the coach training, it didn't really resonate with me. And I had high hopes that it would resonate with me in the leadership program. And still, I hardly use the, um, life purpose type of exercise. And because I think I haven't found much resonance with the concept, though I have in moment by moment purpose, and I'll explain what that is once we get there. But from a kind of broader life purpose perspective, it just never resonated with me. And so I don't really use it with clients very much unless they're requesting some kind of big idea around life purpose. But for me personally, it hasn't been a concept that has resonated at a deep level.
Yeah, I had the same experience, both on the coach training and the leadership program as well that we went through. And you can come away from it thinking, what is wrong with me? Why can't I find my purpose or my definition of purpose? And I think sometimes it's like, if you're looking too hard, you're probably not going to find it. And also, if you're attached to maybe some of the wording that other people find useful, again, it might not resonate if the wording doesn't work for you. So again, I don't use it with the people that I coach that often, but what I do often talk about is kind of like impact. So where people talk about their values, like we always talk about what makes you who you are. What are the things that you value in your life, or that you or that are kind of typical values that for you. And essentially, if you know what you value, often you can then take those values and say, right, if these are your values that are really things that are really important to you, how do you want to use them to have an impact, either for yourself, for your direct family or friends, for your town, for your country, for your world? You can take it bigger, right? And then it maybe becomes purpose. But I think if you boil it down, the thing I've got the most out of it, the thing I've learned the most is just the wording can make such a big difference, because I think it is all about what impact you want to have.
Yeah.
At any level,
Yeah, it reminds me of Simon Sinek's Why, where his fame kind of started, I think, was this whole concept of people don't care what you do, but how you do it. And this idea around why you do what you do.
Yeah.
And so I think that really resonates with me. I find purpose in my interactions with people. I find purpose in my role as a mom. I feel purpose in how I want to show up in my business and the impact and contribution I want to make. So I feel there's purpose, and there's a strong why for me in those areas. It's kind of that broader, this is the one singular purpose that drives everything. And I find that ultimately, a lot of times when we look at that, and again, this is my idea, because this is my personal experience, not my idea, but my personal experience, because I know that in the leadership program we took, there are people that up like to today, and this was 3 years ago that we did this program, they resonate deeply with their life purpose, right? So
Yeah.
just goes to show that not everything works for everyone in the same way. And so it's important for us to just find what works for us and what's meaningful for us. But that kind of broad idea around my purpose, why I'm here, I find just a little harder to get myself around and have that um, be something beyond just connection and love, right? Like that
Yeah.
often feels like what it always comes down to, which is just,
Those are your values, right? Those are probably two of your really strong values, same as me. So maybe that is why it's easier for us to see purpose in those some of those smaller things, because I think if you grow up and you've got a massive value around like nature or the environment or sustainability, then possibly your overarching purpose might be to help solve climate change, right? If that are your strong values, they're not my strong values personally, but not that I don't care about climate change or the environment. I do, but if you've got other values, then you'll probably have other things that make you most excited or give you the strongest urges. So again, if you've got simple values around connection, love, serving others, your purpose in my mind, or your impact you want to have, which this is true for me when I think about my own purpose, it's about overarchingly, it's about me honoring my own values. So purpose being be in alignment with my own values in all areas. So for me, that is showing serving others in different ways as much as I can. It's sort of showing love in my conversations and the way I treat other people. And it's basically all of those things, but they come out in different ways. Like you were saying, during the day, I don't personally have this overarching, really strong thing that's like drive that almost dominates everything else. For me, I don't have that, and I think that's fine because we are all different ultimately, right? We are all totally different people,
yeah.
and therefore we are going to differ in the way we see our impact, our purpose, and that type of thing. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it would be great to have an overarching purpose. I love the idea of getting out of bed in the morning and being like, oh my God, today I'm going to carry on living my purpose. That'd be great, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and I know a few people that, have had that very strong guiding purpose for their life, but in my own circle, it's the minority and not the majority of people.
Yeah.
And what I also find is that a lot of times especially when people are changing careers or reassessing life, tends to happen at certain times in our life where we just do this big reassessment. We go searching for purpose. We go searching for this thing, like, what am I here to do? And I think it can stagnate us, or it can stop us from just engaging with the life that's in front of us. And what I loved about what you said was that it's not really the what we're doing, which is, Simon Sinek idea around
Mm.
why, but it is the how you're showing up in all parts of your life. That could be your purpose in terms of
Yeah.
how you're showing up and not necessarily what you're doing. Um, but I have you found that going in search of life purpose sometimes becomes an obstacle rather than
Hmm.
a benefit? Have you seen that?
I've seen it, yeah, massively. Throughout my life, I've had those moments or times where you think, God, I really should have a purpose. It keeps going back around. I should be doing more. I should be having an impact. I should be doing this, and I'll have more fulfillment. But then if I park that thought and I think, okay, without that thought, what's left? Actually, day to day, I'm pretty happy and content, and in those things, in those day-to-day interactions, there's interactions where I'm helping other people, hopefully wherever I can. I'm being positive minded and trying to lift the energy in a space, which is what I hope to do as well. That so when I think about it from that perspective, I think, well, maybe that is the purpose for me. That is it. So stop trying to search for this big thing when actually you have no idea the impact you're having on others. If you were to like roll back your life when I'm older, I don't know how many people I may have helped in different ways just through living my values around serving others, love, connection, um, fun. A big part of me is trying to have fun and hopefully sharing that and creating that in the environment. That could have all of those things could have a bigger impact for all I know than me trying to go and find some purpose to tick a box.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the other thing that I know kind of was the hang up for me, which is life purpose seems so grandiose. It seems like there's a worthiness of it has to be big enough, right?
Mm.
To merit the life purpose title. um,
Yeah, yeah.
and what you're describing is actually it's in the small little moments that make the difference, and we don't even know the impact that we're having most of the time, um, in these small little moment by moment experiences that we're having with other people.
Yeah, I do think that's the most important thing. Genuinely, like you said, it's not the doing, it's the way of being, the way you're showing up. And whatever you're doing, if you're putting your full essence into it and your true self into it, which is almost like, to me, your non-conditioned self, your true living your true values, being your full self, I think that will then have bigger ripple effects, and that is enough, or it can be enough. I think it's only not enough if we say it's not enough, or we listen to other people saying, oh, you need to have this. It's all about, obviously it always comes back to the mind. We've talked about this a lot, right?
Yeah.
How the mind can play tricks on you. But at the end of the day, if you're sitting here going, am I living my purpose? Do I know what my purpose is? I would just say, try and get still and start looking at your values. Write down all your things you value and the things that make you excited, and then go through them and go, which ones am I living out and which ones am I not?
Yeah.
And if I was to step into some of those things more and be more of it, bring myself to the table, would I feel like I'm living more of a purposeful life? Because again, I do think it can be about, am I living in alignment with my true self and my true potential?
Yeah. Do you think that people outside of the coach world worry about life purpose and purpose?
I don't know if they would call it worry about it in terms of the word life purpose. I think that's something that I've learned, or we've learned through certain trainings and stuff. Um, but I do think people, in my experience, often come to coaching feeling lost, stuck, lost, looking for fulfillment. Now, sometimes you can answer that by helping people find their values. Like we just talked about, what do you
Yeah.
value in life? What are you living into? What are you not? How can you bring more of yourself to that? How can you shed off some of your conditioning and step more into yourself? And that can sort of solve some of that. But you do get some people that want a bit more than that, which is like, but I still feel like lost, almost like, what's the point? Where's the what's the getting out of bed every morning for type thing? And
Yeah.
so I guess, although they might not use the word life purpose, I have heard people say, I just don't know my purpose. I'm really looking for more purpose. So I guess yes and no is the answer. What do you think? What have you experienced in your
Yeah.
coaching sessions?
Yeah, mostly it's around finding meaning to what they're doing, um, finding uh, a reason, as you said, to get up in the world and engage in the life that they have. And sometimes the answer is really there, and they just haven't seen it or taken the time to see it. And sometimes it's just a matter of reflecting and looking at the parts of their life they are proud of, happy with, um, and the parts of their life that might be missing or that they'd like to make a change in, and aligning that with the meaning they want, they or the impact they want to have, the values that they want to live in alignment with. And so while sometimes it seems like this really big thing, the solution tends to be in these micro areas. I find that it's not
Mm,
often a big sweeping change, but taking the time to look at the parts of your life that already have meaning that sometimes we just don't take the time to appreciate and just shine the light on. I think
mm,
that gives us a little bit more purpose than the day to day, what comes next, what comes next, what comes next. And then looking at the areas that you might want to do some micro changes, to be more in alignment with how you want to show up in the life that you want to live.
mm.
I often think it's in those small things that make the biggest difference.
Yeah, I agree. As you're talking, I am thinking that we do put a lot of the energy externally or on the thing, like we've said earlier, the doing. I kind of think it's about spinning it round. If you're in that place of feeling lost, stuck, confused, need more purpose, I would spin it round on yourself first, and sort of just take back a look more inside. I know we talk about this often, but I do think it's the first place to start. It's like, rather than looking at what I should be doing in the world, what impact or action should I be taking? It's almost like, firstly, who am I? If I really strip it back, who am I? What is it makes me up as a unique person on this earth? The chances of being here are so slim, right? We're here as miracles. So who am I? How was I created? What do I value? What excites me? If I look back on my life, when did I have some impact on someone? Do you know what I mean? Like, if you were to write down, when did I have an impact on someone, some kind of positive impact, or what do people tell me about myself? It's because it's within those things you can start to learn more about your impact, your natural impact.
Yeah.
Where you kind of stand out, or where you shine, or whatever. And from there you can start to go, well, if I step more into that and more into the things I value more, I do think that, like we were saying, the purpose thing will come from that. You'll start to just be more yourself, which I do probably think is the ultimate kind of purpose, is to just step into being ourselves,
Well,
and then experiencing life, fully experiencing life as your unique self.
yeah, well, and I find it interesting because when people come and they say, I want to find what my purpose is, what my passion is, how do you go about doing that if not by engaging in life and reflecting on where you've been and making some choices on how you want to engage in the future, and then just learning from that.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it just becomes this mental process that you can just get stuck over and over and over and over again and really not get anywhere.
Yeah, because sometimes you will know things you want to try, but there are people, I've spoken to people that have no idea what they want to do. They're sort of a bit stuck in terms of, they don't even know what they would find fun, in a way. They're sort of, and I think this is often where we're just a bit conditioned or beaten down by life a little bit, and we just forgotten what it's like to just have fun. So in those situations, I always suggest people just to find something that's a bit similar to something you've liked in the past, whether it's a different sport, a different type of dancing, or a different whatever, and just go and do it. Like, just force yourself, go and do it, try it. And at least if you don't like it, you've learned something new that you can tick off. But often when people just do something different, or are forced to just step out of the comfort zone, as we've said again in the past, comfort zone, you'll learn stuff, and it starts to activate the things you do and don't like,
Yeah.
and from there you start to realize, oh yeah, okay, I'm not dead inside. I have got
That's good.
I have got some excitement about me. I've got some things I do like. People often are just stuck in a rut, I think. They're just stuck in a rut. It's about shaking the system a little bit, I think.
Yeah. And I think sometimes we just get so busy with the routine of everything going, that we don't actually take the time to see where we're getting meaning already, because we're just not noticing it. But because we're just we're our spotlight is on the external stuff, right? I just need to do this and then this and then this, versus, oh, like, what meaning can I have from this one activity that I'm doing right now?
Yeah,
Right?
exactly. And who knows, by stepping into something new, or some new activity, or whatever, you might suddenly hit on something really that gives you a feeling you've never had before, or activate something that you've never realized before. And then you might, and this happens to some people, like, for example, people that pick up like coaching or other type of things like that, they realize, oh, I'm doing something that really ticks so many of my values, whether it's that they love coaching, or whether it's they love, I don't know, mentoring. But actually, it could be that, or it could be this thing ticks all these values, which we were saying before. And in that case, you could, without trying all these different things, you're never going to realize that. So through the experimentation, you may actually hit on something that's slightly bigger. Again, I don't think me, or possibly you, would say it's your total life purpose, but it gets you closer to doing something with your time that is more aligned with who you are.
Yeah. There's a book. I might get the title slightly wrong, but something to the effect of "Be so good you can't be ignored." And in that book, it's really interesting because the author makes a case that we actually should not necessarily go in search of follow our passion or look for our passion. And he actually makes the case that it's in the engagement and the getting better at something that passion comes, that purpose can come, that meaning can come, but it comes over time as well. So I really find that an interesting place to look, in a different perspective than you typically hear out there, because there's so much written and promoted around finding your passion and finding your purpose, right? And often it's he uses in the book Steve Jobs as an example, and he says he didn't set out to create Apple. It was
Mm,
this kind of these fluke of events that happened, and then he just got really good at doing what he did, and from that came meaning for him.
yeah,
From that came purpose for him, and certainly there were values that he ended up aligning with within that, but he didn't set out to do that. He didn't follow his passion. That's not the
yeah,
story
that's a
of
good
Steve
point.
Jobs. And so I share that because we could get, and I've seen it, um, we can get hung up on trying to find it before we start taking some action, rather
Yeah,
than engaging with life and continuing down a path and looking for meaning there and looking for purpose there. Because I know that there's so many things that I do in a day that I don't necessarily think of as my purpose on a day-to-day basis, but if I take the time to reflect, I find purpose and meaning,
mm, yeah,
because
that's a really good point.
we see what we put where we shine our spotlight. And so I think sometimes just starting with, where in my life do I already have purpose and meaning?
Yeah, yeah, and I agree with you completely. And it's similar. I think for me, if I think about like my day to day when I'm working in sort of my full time consulting role, outside of the coaching side of things, it's like, on paper, not everything ticks the box for me. Not everything is always ticking all your values. You don't love everything, right? And you could look at it from a perspective of, oh, I'm working these fixed hours here, and that's a negative, or this, or I'm doing these things during the day that are a negative. Or you can look at where are the points in the day where I bring my best self to those things and I'm very present in them. And it's all about perspective, isn't it? How you look at your day, your week, whatever. It's simple to say and it's easy to say, the whole positive minded versus negative, but it's so true, because most of the time when I look back on my day, I always think about the things I did positively, like the people I might have impacted, the fun I brought to a meeting. I mean, people might watch this and think you don't bring fun to meetings, but I feel like I do. So I think it's just about, like you say, it's just a lot. All the small things, they add up to big things and can leave you feeling like every day, did I have a good day today? Did I do my best today? Was I most myself today? And
Yeah.
did I have an impact? Did I have an impact today in different times during the day? Sometimes it'll be big, sometimes it'll be small, but I think it's just about not sleepwalking through your life,
I love that.
you know, because it soon goes quick. And if you don't do things with a bit of purpose, i.e., purposely follow your values and purposely, and check in on yourself, all of a sudden you can get taken down the river and be like, how did I end up here? And or you could be more intentional, which I guess is what we're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Did
taking the time to reflect um, on all of that, whether it be on a daily basis or on a weekly basis, so that you can start training your brain to not only look for purpose and meaning, but also look for opportunities to continue to create more purpose and meaning. Because if
Yeah,
you train your brain to look through that lens, your brain will always do what you train it to do.
yeah,
It just does over time. It just goes there. And you've
yeah,
shared in prior conversations around having used structures like alarms on your phone initially, and now you no longer need them because you've already trained your brain to do that kind of thing. So um, if you're looking for purpose and passion, or purpose or meaning in what you do, just training yourself to look for it and to create it on a day-to-day basis, I think goes a long way to living into it over the long term.
mm. So I think that we all want to feel a sense of like we have charge over our lives. I think that's what we kind of want, really. We want a lot of things, but overarching, it's like we want to feel like we're being our true selves and we have charge over our direction, we're not just getting taken down the river, like I said before. And through being yourself, knowing who you are, what you value in life, and how you want to show up and acting on it, if you do that consistently, and I've done this myself, I know it to be true, you start to feel better about yourself, and you start to just feel like you have charge over your life. Like I have charge over how I feel each day of the week. And at the end of the week, I feel like I've had a good week because I haven't done everything I may have wanted to do, but I've got charge over how I interpret it,
Yeah.
and how I respond to things. And again, maybe it seems hard to understand if you're sort of new to this type of thinking, but it is true and it can work. But you have to, it's like a muscle, you have to build the muscle of knowing that, build that muscle of knowing that you have ultimate charge over what you
Right.
decide to take in and how you interpret your surroundings,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, do you have anything for yourself that you do to kind of stay aligned to purpose or even values? Because I know we're tying the two quite closely, right? Or even your impact you want to have. Is there anything you actively do to kind of make sure that you're feeling like you are in that, having that charge over the impact you have?
Yeah, I think for me, it's a couple of different things. One, it's just I write on a daily basis just for me. And typically, I go to where I'm contributing impact, all that kind of stuff tends to come out in my writing, and just it's writing that I do for me. Um, I'm such a big advocate of just going for mini walks throughout the day. I just find it clears my head. New information comes. I feel connected with nature. I feel connected with the world. And that's kind of the frame of mind that I need in order to bring purpose and meaning. Um, and then I've really spent some time from a professional perspective working through um, the contribution I want to make, the people I want to serve, um, what I want for them. That was a big thing. I think one of my biggest takeaways from leadership was I remember them saying, want something for that person in front of you, like want deeply
Yeah.
something for that person in front of you. And so I really took that to heart. And I think that has really given me a beautiful perspective on how I show up in my business, and the contribution that I want to make there, because I really want something not only for the human being that I'm working with, I really want something for the companies I work for, and I really want something for the world. And you were witness to that impromptu kind of speech that I did that we're calling the crazy lady at the top of the mountain, where that wanting really came out for me in a moment. And so out of that came a real wanting for the future of the world. And I just aligned to that, that feeling. It's hard to describe in words. It's I always describe it. You've heard me describe this several times, the fire in my belly. And so
Mm.
when I have that fire in my belly, I know I'm aligned with something greater than me that I really want to be contributing to.
I mean, I remember that very vividly, that moment on the program that we did. And it's interesting because although we're saying that we don't necessarily can't put words to an articulated, clear purpose or life purpose, that experience of watching you speak your truth and what the impact you want to have in the world, essentially is a purpose, right? It's part of your purpose is to, it might not be your overarching life purpose if you were to put it on a poster, but it's a massive part of who you are. Is the impact you want to have in the world and on each individual that you're serving, for your coaching, for your speaking, for everything else that you do. And it's powerful. I remember it now. I can remember the feeling I had. I was like, I want what she's having. It was amazing. And it
Yeah.
inspired me. I remember it inspired me. And it goes to show how when you sort of know who you are and you dig deep and then you project it outwardly in an intentional way, you can have an impact on others.
Yeah.
That is purposeful in itself.
Yeah, and I'd have to say if there was, because there was a whole other exercise that we did that kind of got us to a life purpose statement, and that never resonated with me, the statement itself, but that feeling in that moment where I just spoke from the heart and I could feel something like an energetic bolt like going through me, and I just felt like this was much bigger than me, this whatever was kind of consuming me. And it sounds kind of strange describing it, but that is the experience of it that I had. That is transferable to all parts of my life, whether it be how I interact with friends, how I interact with my family, how I interact with clients. So there is, you're right, there is a very kind of clear purpose there for me. It's just hard for me to articulate in words. It lives in me much more as a felt sense, and an essence, rather than words.
Yeah, and I agree, and I think I'll always find that it's hard to articulate in a few words your purpose or who you are or any of that. How can you articulate anything? You can't. I know we have to label everything in life, as things, right? But when it comes to us as people and things as big as the impact we want to have, it's very difficult to put it into words. But like you say, I like what you say, which is the feeling. Maybe that's a good exercise is for people, is to, like, how do I want to feel? What makes me feel good? What makes me feel great when I have some kind of impact? Or I think that can maybe help just to release some of that stuff that's inside. Because I think if we hadn't gone on that leadership program, you and I maybe won't have had that type of experience. And I think it's sort of like doing that in introspective work. You sort of need it to pull it out of us. I think we've all got desires and urges that we just don't really access in day-to-day life, particularly if you're busy, you've got kids, or you've got a full-time job and stuff. So taking that time forcefully away, like for us, we had to book those weeks away, right, to really do that work. But even if you can't do that, and if you just take a day or a morning, early morning or half hour every morning, just to do that work, you can start to sort of just get to know yourself a bit better and pull out some of those urges, because they are in there, I think, for most people. And I think it's just around, whether you call it purpose or what, I think it's just, how do we want to be in the world, really? If we give ourselves that space and that permission, like full permission, how do you want to be? How do you want to show up? And if you start doing that, you'll get the world will respond, and you'll get more fulfillment through that.
Yeah, and I find that for me, it was kind of looking at the world and seeing things that I didn't like about how the world operated. From that came the change that I wanted to see, and from that came this kind of that urge inside of me of having an impact. And then I think the other piece where I may have gotten hung up was, oh my gosh, this seems like a really big thing. How little old me gonna impact something this big? And so then it's really about bringing it to your day-to-day interactions, right? We think we need this big, massive plan to make our purpose come alive, but we're living into our purpose in everything we do, whether it's in how we interact with our neighbor or how we just walk out of our door. We can be in that place of impacting that bigger dream in our day-to-day little interactions.
Yeah. I think it's just like trusting yourself, and, like you say, taking a few steps, because it doesn't have to be massive. You don't have to solve the world's problems all at once or climb the mountain all at once, but I think just taking a step forward, or a slightly different step to your normal. I think normally we're sort of just, I always use the mountain analogy because it makes sense to me, but if you just, you talk typical life is sort of like in circles at the bottom, just doing the same old thing. And it's like, actually, if I want more of that, or I want to head towards that, you've got to take a step out of your normal comfort zone, your normal routine, right? And you don't have to climb it all at once. If you start taking a step at a time, doing different things, you'll create more of that sense of purpose and fulfillment. And I'm thinking now about when we did the leadership program. When I went on that program, I was in a full-time job, or I just actually finished a full-time job. I was having a break, and part of my value system was around serving others, giving back. I've always wanted to help people with anxiety, because I've had major anxiety when I was younger, but I never did anything about it. It was only through that leadership program, doing a lot of that introspective work, when I left there, that was the catalyst to taking small steps, training as a coach, getting certified as a coach. So it's helping people day to day, putting a few videos on LinkedIn, which I never would have done in a million years. These videos that we do, these conversations, never in a million years would have put them online like we do. But now it seems like nothing. It's like, well, this is me talking about what I really care about, what we really care about. So
Yeah.
putting it online, it's just the truth. It's who I am. Who cares, you know? But if I
Mhm.
hadn't gone through all those steps, it never would have happened. So I think we can't imagine how we'll feel later down the line. It's just about doing the first thing and it will lead to the next thing.
Yeah. I couldn't agree with you more. It really is finding the smallest little step, doing it, and realizing that most of the fear and the obstacle really did live in our brain. Because I remember the first time I did video, I delayed it, and then I did it, and I was like, "What? Why did I delay it for so long?" That was my reaction, and I had to let go of trying to do it perfect or to try to do it a certain way. But once I let that go, it's kind of like,
Mm,
yeah, all of the hesitation really was just me playing some kind of thought process because all of the fear was there.
mm.
There really was no real risk to doing it and putting it out there.
It reminds me of what you were saying the other day about the fear and love thing and why we make certain choices. And, you know, I think if I look at the reason we're doing these conversations, the reason I've created some workshops that I've run and other things, you know, putting stuff online, it genuinely isn't through some kind of egoic thing or wanting to get something out. It's through pure purpose driven, wanting to help people. That is actually what it is. I know it is because I can feel it, you know. So I think if you're doing stuff through integrity and in line with your values, you will feel good about it and it will lead to other things and it will have an impact. If you're not, you might create stuff, but whether it will have the same impact, whether you'll feel that sense of integrity and contentment, I don't know, you know. But I do think just look inside, look what's real for you and start acting on it. And yeah, the world will answer you back.
Yeah. And look for where you already have purpose. I think you know, just look for it and you'll find something and then just build on it slowly, I think is what we're saying.
Yeah,
And don't
yeah,
let the search for purpose stop you from engaging in life.
yeah, I agree. I mean, we've got to have fun. We've got to live, right? We've got to,
Yeah.
you know, and most of the time, I bet a lot of people are probably already living a lot of their own values, their own life. You know, most people that are relatively happy and content, they probably are living to a degree in alignment with their values. There's just always room for improvement, you know.
Yeah. Anything
Cool.
else that you would add?
Trying to think, is there anything else? I mean, we haven't really talked, maybe we've talked about this before, I don't know, but for somebody that wants to step more into their, I guess, their values, their purpose, who they are really, that type of thing. I think what's been useful for me, you mentioned it a little bit earlier around these notes on the phone or taking notes, but what some people do, and I've used this in coaching, is kind of creating this like a commitment statement, or you could call it like a commitment to life statement or a commitment statement or a who I am statement or something, right? So, and it's almost like just something that reminds you of who you are without your conditioning. You know, like who
Okay.
am I when I'm not listening to my mind, right? So
Yeah.
it's just writing down things like, and if you don't know, it's almost like, who do I want to be? Who do I want to be more of? Or what do
Mm,
I want to, what's the impact I want to have? Whatever the question that resonates most, write it down, write it down, write it down, tweak it, and just start to look at it every day and like bring it on board. Start to kind of look at it. At first, it might seem like it's separate to you. It's like, well, I'm not really that, because you might, you know, your mind might be kicking in. But essentially, like we said about building the muscle, it's just about repetition and reminding yourself of something and getting stronger in a certain area. And I think if you create this commitment statement or impact statement or whatever, and you look at it every day, you say it, recite it, whether it's out loud or to yourself, it will sink in. You'll send a blueprint to yourself over
yeah.
time that will remind you and reinforce you of who you are and the impact you want to have. And that is you starting to create your way of being, and everything will flow from that. You know, some people use it, some don't. It does work. If it resonates with you, do it, and it will
Yeah.
work. Um,
Give me an
and if not,
example
don't.
of a commitment statement. Give me an example of
So, so I guess like I am committed to, or I am proactive. I'm confident. I am loving. I am committed to serving others. I'm
yeah.
committed to being present in my interactions. It's almost like it's a commitment to who
Yeah.
you are. It's either who you are or who you want to be,
Yeah.
right? Because you know who you want to be will become who you are if you lean into it.
Yeah.
You know, but sometimes we just forget. We know what we want, but we forget about it. So it's
Yeah.
like with anything, you have to reinforce, and build up who you want to be, or build up your your memory of what your impact is going to be. You know,
Yeah.
it's just about building the muscle.
I've used those, and I don't use them as much now, but I have used them a lot, especially when I began my coaching career. I used them a lot in terms of the impact I wanted to have, where I want to be coming from, and I wrote them every morning.
Mm.
I actually
Yeah, I think.
physically just wrote them out
Oh,
every
really?
morning.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I've had people that have done it and it's not resonated too much. Others have absolutely like loved it and still do it. And I think the difference is don't write or read it to yourself for the sake of saying the words. You've got to like take it in. So you've got to take the time, read it, take it in. Like you're sending these intentions to your DNA, right? You want to take it in so that you can act on it. It's not just for the sake of an exercise.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you feel it and it works, keep doing it, and it will only build up that sense of what you want to create and who you want to be.
Rich Livin always says that it's a place to come from and not a place to get to. And so if you look at it from that perspective, the mind shift is, it's not the gap between where you are and where you want to be. It's a reminder to come from that place. And so if it becomes a reminder to come from that place that day, then you're less likely to go, oh no, but I'm not there, and not believe it, right? It's just a reminder that kind of mind shift helped me to be, this is where I'm coming from today. I am this. So a reminder of where I'm going to come from today.
Yeah, it's kind of like the being and doing, which we've talked about, isn't it? It's who are you being? How are you being in your day-to-day life? And what will that then create as a result? If your being statement is, I am someone that I get shit done. I get shit done. I'm proactive. I get shit done. If you say that every day and you feel it, you will more than likely start being it and doing it and creating whatever you want to get done.
Agreed. Okay, I think that's it for this conversation.
It's been fun as always, and looking forward to seeing you again soon.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.